Gene Deal, who I've interviewed before. Now, when I did the interview with Gene, the main purpose of the interview was a play-by-play the night that Biggie got killed. Gene was legitimately there, so that part of the story was my focus.
Right.
Some of the other stuff that Gene was saying doesn't always match up. So, like, for example, like the timeline of Biggie, getting to the accident. I remember when we interviewed Little C's, he said, no, that's not at all how it happened. The timeline is all wrong. This happened first and so forth. So some of the stuff that Gene said hasn't been all that accurate. Now, the stuff the night that Biggie was killed was fairly accurate. But you actually said that Gene Deal's full of shit.
Yeah. There's something wrong with the guy. I first became aware of him when I started getting involved with this rap police nonsense. And everybody that worked with him said, stay away from him. He's like bad news. They don't know how he's keeping his job. There's always something he's up to. They're afraid of him. He's one of these guys, if he's, backed up against the wall, he gets brazen and everything else. And how he kept his job, they don't know. There was one incident in particular where these cops up in Harlem saw him acting suspiciously either in a car, by a car that had weapons on the backseat exposed. It was all sorts of nonsense, but he's a guy who, he talks like he's a street guy, but he was a member of a pseudo law enforcement agency, whether it was parole or probation.
He was a parole officer.
And, but talks like he's a street guy and was around bad people. Like, if you got to be with one team or the other. So if you're a cop, you can't be around guys like Wolf and, all these other guys and drugs and illegal handguns and everything else, So listening to him now, it just seems like he's conveniently coming out and saying, dicey things here and there. No doubt he was exposed to, some interesting things over the years, but yeah, I heard he's threatening to beat me up on some video, but whatever.